No, the Atlantic Division down the stretch is going to be silly. So last night you got the Bruins knocking off Columbus here, and that was in overtime. And then Paul Bruno's Maple Leafs put on a beatdown in Tampa. And we can also show you the Eastern Conference as a whole. I'm not sure if we have that graphic or not, but spoiler alert, we do. Oh, God. I love you guys in the back. The Hurricanes, Rangers, and Penguins holding it down atop the Metro. And all three, by the way, in that division in action tonight. Senior fantasy editor at NHL.com and host of the NHL Fantasy on Ice podcast. So Pete Jensen's here. The RotoWire riveting duo, Paul Bruno and AJ Scholz, are also here to help you guys and gals build some money-making lineups for tonight. Paul, right now, you got to tell me, which team do you see falling to a wild card spot at the end of the regular season between Toronto, Boston, and the Lightning?
I'm going to say it's going to be the Boston Bruins. And you know what? You can make a case for all three of them. It's going to be that close, going to be down to a coin flip. But the way the Leafs are rolling right now, I think they're a cinch to be no worse than third in this division. And Tampa, they're the team that's reeling of all three of them right now, if you ask me. So I'm going to pick Boston, though, on talent.
Okay. Pete, Bruins, 17-3-1 in their last 21 games, dude. But last night's win may have come at a steep price there. Trent Frederick and leading scorer David Pastrnak banged up now.
Yeah, it's a tough situation because the Bruins have been rolling three strong lines, really impressive fashion over the past couple of months. Of course, DeBrusk popped off again. He's been outstanding in DFS and season long as a association of the top line with Bergeron and Marchand. And then, yeah, to kind of answer the question that you brought up before about which team I think would drop off, I love what I've seen from the Bruins. And I love what I've seen from the Maple Leafs. So right now, the odd team out might be the Tampa Bay Lightning, two-time defending champs. Imagine them being a wild card and maybe going to the other bracket because it looks like the President's Trophy or maybe the Eastern Conference crown in the regular season will probably go to the Florida Panthers. So the Lightning quietly might have a tough time defending their titles this year because they don't have anywhere near the scoring depth as they've had in previous years.
Yeah, Frederick and Pastrnak, by the way, officially out tonight, according to head coach Bruce Cassidy. And you're going to have Jeremy Swayman starting between the Pites. But, AJ, Boston and Detroit tonight, Toronto and Florida. Who needs a win more?
I mean, like Paul said, like they both need wins. It's going to be so tight. Imagine being Carolina right now. Like, you're going to come out of the meat grinder that is the Metropolitan, potentially as the first team. Oh, and by the way, here's your reward, the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. That just would not seem fair. I'm not counting out the Lightning yet, and I'm not saying either of these guys are either. It's going to be a dogfight here to the end. But I agree with Paul. I think Boston probably is the most likely of those teams to end up in the wild card spot. So maybe it's them that need to win the most tonight. It'll give them a good opportunity. They've got Detroit, a little weaker opposition, while obviously Toronto is going up against Florida. So it could be a good opportunity to catch Toronto rather on points here for second.
Okay, let's go ahead and let's fast forward to tonight here, guys. Pete, I'll start with you. Who's your favorite DFS play at center?
I'm just so impressed by the season that Tage Thompson is having for the Buffalo Sabres. He's at 30-plus goals. He's having a career year across the board. He was the guy that came over in that Ryan O'Reilly trade that looked horrible after the first year when St. Louis won the Cup. But now it looks like Buffalo has their number one center of the present and the future. And he plays with Jeff Skinner. And I like what they've done recently. They have Alex Tuch drop down and playing with Casey Middlestad on the second line. And Middlestad has been really productive when healthy this season. So, yeah, I kind of like that Buffalo play down the stretch. I know it's a tough opponent in Carolina, but you look at the home splits for Thompson, 35 points in 35 home games. I mean, this guy is honestly playing at an elite level, and he's sustained it all year long.
All right, Paul, where are you going?
You know what? It's serve and volley time between Draisaitl and Matthews. Tonight, I think Draisaitl gets a chance to return serve after Matthews had he last night. Great matchup for him. He's got 47 shots on goal in his last 10 games, 11 goals in that stretch too. So I think he's going to add to his totals. But the guy that I'm watching in the same game is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Been a big part of the Oilers' recent win streaks. They've been split up by an injury absence on his part. So I credit him being a big part of Edmonton's success when he's been in the lineup for the last 2 months. And it should be a points night for Edmonton as they face a poor club in San Jose. And the cost for Brian Nugent-Hopkins only $5,000. That's one of the best values on the board. I love Pete's call on Tage Thompson, and I'm right there alongside him. And then one final name I'll throw out is Mika Zibanejad, $7,100 at the New Jersey Devils, 10 points in his last 10 games. The Rangers have lost 2 straight in their division. I don't think they're going to make it 3 in a row, and Zibanejad's going to be a big part of the rebound tonight.
All right, AJ, talk to me about your guy at center.
Well, I'm going to be the homer here. I'm going to go to Sidney Crosby here. Mostly because, one, he's not the top of the price range. 2, ownership should be relatively low when you consider they're going up against the Avs. I think that'll depress the value of the Penguins. But look, Crosby has just been unstoppably consistent. He's got points, at least a point, in 17 of his last 19 contests. That includes the other night when they played Colorado and he got a goal. Like, there's just too much consistency here at a guy that's $7,200. So yeah, you're still getting one of the top players in the league. It's certainly not a value play, but you're not having to pay up quite as high as a Matthews or a Draisaitl, and it leaves you a little bit more flexibility on the rest of your roster build.
All right, cool. Let's go to the wings and things department. Paul?
Mitch Marner, $7,100. That's an insult to a guy who's been the NHL's leading scorer over the last 6 weeks. He looks like he's having a lot of fun out there, playing a different game than almost everybody else on the ice. Across the ice tonight, though, Jonathan Hubert doing much the same thing with 14 points in his last 10 games played, costing $6,800. So a couple of good values on a couple of guys that are way up there in the top 10 scorers on the year. Cheaper than both, though. I like Artemi Panarin's matchup at New Jersey, similar to Zibanejad. He's been a top 10 points guy in this league over the last 2 seasons, finally pushing for that target again this year with 11 points in his last 10 games, 82 and 65 on the year. He costs only $6,500 somehow tonight.
AJ, your favorite wing?
I hate to do this, guys, but I have to agree with Paul here. Marner has just been so good. And again, that price tag, when you compare it, 15 points in his last 6 contests, all multi-point efforts. 7,100 is too low here. And again, maybe based on matchup, you think about fading the Leafs tonight, and some other people might. But Marner just had 3 points against the Lightning. I know we talked about the Lightning reeling a little bit here, but they're still one of the best teams in the league. So I'm not scared off by the fact that they're going up against the Panthers. I think Marner was just going to continue to produce every night down the stretch here. They don't have to rely on the offense quite as much as they have been now that Jack Campbell's back. But that doesn't mean they're going to stop putting in goals, and Mitch Marner is going to be a key to that.
Okay, Pete.
So I'm going cheaper here. I'm going with Matthew Joseph from the Ottawa Senators. You could say, hey, what he did over the past 2 games is flash in the pan, maybe. 7 points, 9 shots in his past 2 games. He played for the Lightning for years. We've never seen anything like this from him. But I liked how he shared some common ice time at different points in that game with Josh Norris, who had a hat trick, and also Brady Tkachuk. So maybe look for him to earn himself an elevated role. This is a guy that was just traded a couple of weeks ago and is finding a home on a non-contender, but a bigger offensive role. So, bargain price, $2,500. You got to love that. Maybe some breakout potential down the stretch of the season. And I also really like the price point for Matt Zuccarello for the Minnesota Wild with that exposure to Kirill Kaprizov, who just broke the Wild point record for a single season. Zuccarello is only $5,200, so you got to slot him in as well.
All right, need you guys to be very quick here on Blue Line. Paul, I'll start with you. Is this a pay-up spot, or are you going to save?
No way. There's 3 name recognition power play quarterback types that are sub 5,000 tonight. That's a shocker. And the most shocking of all, Morgan Riley, 6th in the league in points by a defenseman all season long. 12 points in his last 10 games, costing $4,900. Then you got Hampus Lindholm, yet to really make his mark in Boston, but only $3,900 against the woeful Wings. And finally, Jared Spurgeon running PP1 for Minnesota. They face Nashville tonight. They've been leaking goals, the Preds have. Meanwhile, Minnesota's 9-0-1 their last 10. Spurgeon will cost only $3,800 this season.
AJ, take it away.
I'm going to go back to the Penguins here. Mike Matheson is just $3K tonight. He's generated 3 goals and 3 assists since returning from injury. But perhaps most importantly, over that, I believe it's an 11-game stretch, He's got 26 shots, 19 blocks, so it's a really good floor here as well, even if he doesn't get a point at 3K. But you add in the fact he's the quarterback for the number 2 power play unit. I like his chances of grabbing a point here.
All right, Pete, bring us home.
So I got Tyson Barrie going up against the Sharks. Barrie's one of the hottest scoring defensemen in the league, brings exposure to McDavid and Draisaitl on power play 1, so ride the hot hand there. And then keep an eye out for Bowen Byram. He was just recalled from Colorado of the AHL. This is the second best rookie defenseman this season when healthy in points per game behind Mo Seider. So hopefully he returns on Tuesday, but certainly a player to keep an eye on that could give the Avs another layer in their pursuit of the Stanley Cup this year.